In order to live a better life after the age of 70, it is necessary to let go of these 7 things that are holding you back in secret. What slows you down after the age of 70 might not be what you anticipate. In many cases, it is about letting go. We amass items that are no longer useful to us over the course of time. Carry things, routines, and beliefs with you long after they have outlived their usefulness. And by the time we find ourselves in our 70s, some of those things are not only superfluous, but they are also cumbersome. They have a negative impact on our disposition, our health, our relationships, and even our capacity to take pleasure in the present moment of life. The purpose of this movie is not to help you organize your closet or clean out your refrigerator. However, we will also discuss that in a moment. Something more profound is at play here. These 7 items are things that many people carry into their senior years without recognizing how much money they are losing as a result of carrying them out. When you finally let them go, what you are left with is not a sense of loss but rather liberation. It's not only a matter of making theoretical proposals. Every one of these 7 items is based on actual trends that have been observed in older persons, who either flourish or struggle in their latter years respectively. And even while they may appear to be straightforward, the consequence of letting go of even one of them can be transformative. This could be exactly what you require if you are above the age of 70 or growing close to that age and you are experiencing feelings of being stuck, fatigued, or simply not as light in spirit as you once were. In this article, we will discuss 7 things that should be discarded after the age of 70. As well as the reasons why doing so could be the best gift you ever offer to yourself. I want you to stay with me until the very end because the last item is something that very few people discuss. But it is the one that offers the most peace when you finally let go of it. First and foremost, the shame that comes with declining an offer. In the course of your life, there will come a point when your time, your energy, and your peace will become the resources that you value the most. Furthermore, by the time you reach the age of 70, the act of safeguarding them should no longer be something for which you apologize. On the other hand, a significant number of elderly people continue to bear a silent burden whenever they decline a request, cancel a plan, or simply opt for rest rather than obligation. This load is known as guilt. In addition, if you wish to enjoy a greater degree of independence in your older years, it is time to ditch that feeling of guilt. Being self-centered is not the same thing as this. By doing so, one must become selective. The act of ultimately granting yourself permission to prioritize the things that are most important to you without having to constantly explain yourself is what it entails. Many people, particularly those who have developed jobs, created families, or cared for others, have been conditioned to say yes out of a sense of responsibility, courtesy, or fear of disappointing someone. This conditioning has occurred over the course of several decades. However, at this point in your life, you have earned the right to respect the boundaries that you have set for yourself. Let's consider someone like Carol, who is 74 years old, not because she wanted to, but because she didn't want to appear ungrateful. She found herself being pulled into every church event, family meeting, and neighborhood committee after the death of her husband. She didn't make the decision to participate in these activities. In spite of the fact that it left her fatigued, she decided to accept everything. She didn't understand how little room she had left for her own happiness until she politely denied a weekend vacation and spent that time painting alone in her kitchen, which was something she hadn't done in years. She had not done this in years. When you say no, you are not rejecting other people. It is becoming aware of one's own identity. And the truth is that the majority of people comprehend a great deal more than we think they do. When you politely and clearly decline an offer, you are not actively driving people away from you. You are establishing the conditions for a connection that is more truthful. You are demonstrating to them what it is that you do in order to maintain your health, tranquility, and presence. This particular limit also serves as a model for something that is significant for the subsequent generation. When your children or grandchildren witness you managing your time and energy in a responsible manner, They learn that it is okay for them to engage in similar behavior. At the age of 70, they discover that life does not have to be a series of unending obligations. It may be about having a purposeful way of life. In spite of this, there will still be times when you feel the want to say yes. And when you do, you will be able to tell that it is coming from a genuine place, rather than a feeling of guilt or under pressure. Learning to say no without feeling embarrassed is a beautiful thing to do. It makes the meaning of your yeses deepen. Now is the time to put the guilt of saying no to the side if you have been dragging it around with you. Get rid of it. You have spent sufficient years catering to the requirements of everyone else. This chapter is about coming into your own and having faith that the people who mean the most to you will comprehend what you are going through. The second issue is prescriptions and medical supplies that have become obsolete. One is likely to fail to notice them. It is not uncommon to find old pill bottles, ointments that have expired, unused antibiotics, and prescriptions that have been partially used for years sitting quietly in the drawers of the bathroom, kitchen cabinets, or hallway closets. But despite the fact that they could appear to be safe, retaining out-of-date medical items after the age of 70 can actually present significant dangers. In addition, getting rid of them is not only about cleaning up the mess. Your health should be protected, and you should give yourself the opportunity to feel at ease. At the time of expiration, the strength of drugs does not necessarily decrease in a predictable manner. Some of them lose their effectiveness. Other things have the potential to deteriorate and become dangerous. In addition, even if they are safe, taking the incorrect dosage or confusing one prescription with another can result in major adverse effects, particularly if you are using many medications to treat multiple ailments. When one is at this point in their life, even a minor mistake might have significant repercussions. Take, for example, Bill 81, who had a history of difficulties with his heart. In the afternoon, he reached for what he believed to be his medication for his blood pressure. But unfortunately, he ended up taking an old prescription for pain medication instead. It was not planned that management had been left in the same container until it was discovered. Packaging, labeling, and mental exhaustion were the only hurdles that stood in the way. If the expired medications had been thrown away years ago, he would not have had to spend the following day in the emergency room, which is something that could have been prevented. Moreover, it is not limited to prescriptions. Think of outdated thermometers that aren't functioning correctly, bandages that have lost their adhesive, lotions that have long since passed their expiration date, and even supplements that you no longer take but still keep in your cupboards out of habit. These goods make your space more cluttered and make it more difficult to make judgments. When you are not feeling well, you need clarity, not uncertainty. Clarity is just what you need. The remedy is straightforward but effective. Examine the dates on the expiration labels of the items in your cabinets. If it has passed its expiration date, dispose of it in a secure manner, preferably at a pharmacy that is willing to take older prescriptions. Refrain from taking the risk if it is not labeled or if it is not clear. It is probably time to get rid of anything if you haven't used it in more than a year and you don't intend to use it again in the foreseeable future. Remember to only keep things that are up to date, well labeled, and actually pertinent to your ongoing care plans. You will be astounded by the sensation of tranquility that this inspires. For the reason that when your body is in need of attention, the last thing you want is a shelf that is cluttered with things. If you want your area to be clean and tidy, you should make sure that your supplies and prescriptions accurately reflect where you are right now, not where you were a few years ago. Additionally, doing this provides your loved ones with a sense of calm. If they ever find themselves in a position where they need to assist you with your meds or provide emergency treatment, they will be aware that the information they are working with is accurate and up to date. What you have done is not only responsible, it is a gift. I would appreciate it if you could use the second comment section below to let me know that you are continuing viewing this video and that you are finding these insights to be helpful. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the channel and activate the bell if you have not already done so. This will ensure that you do not miss any videos. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. Let's proceed with our plans now. Self-talk that is negative is the third point. You wouldn't allow complete strangers to stand in your living room and trash you on a daily basis, would you? However, for many people who are above the age of 70, a still, persistent voice within them does exactly that. It has been doing this for a number of years. Among the things that it says is that you are too old to try that. Too many errors have been committed by you. You are no longer required by anyone at this time. There is no wisdom in this voice. It is not beneficial. Not your conscience is the problem. Negative self-talk is what it is. Furthermore, if you wish to experience a sense of lightness, freedom, and greater vitality at this particular phase of your life, it is time to get rid of it. This voice frequently matures over the course of time. Sometimes it starts in childhood, when it is fashioned by harsh words or demands that are impossible to fulfill. There are times when it stems from errors or regrets from the past that we have not completely let go of. In addition, it is frequently reinforced by a culture that promotes the notion that once you reach a particular age, you have passed your prime. However, here is the reality. If a notion occurs to you, it does not necessarily mean that it is accurate. It is not necessary for you to continue thinking about it at this moment simply because you have thought about it 100 times. You have been around long enough to see that progress does not stop at the age of 30, 50, or even 80 of your life. Each new year brings with it its own unique way of being. Self-talk that is negative, on the other hand, prevents you from perceiving that. You lose your motivation as a result. That robs you of your delight. Through the process of persuading you that your troubles are evidence of failure rather than a natural part of the human condition, it causes you to become isolated. Consider someone like Edna, who is 78 years old. Since she was a child, she had a strong desire to learn how to play the piano. Nevertheless, whenever she looked at a keyboard, that voice told her, "You'll never be good at this. Already, it is too late to begin." Her belief in it lasted for many years, until her granddaughter, who was 10 years old at the time, asked her to teach her a song jointly. After beginning with one note at a time, they have progressed to the point where they now do so every Sunday. This is not because Edna was able to completely silence the voice, rather, it was because she stopped allowing it to influence the choices she made. Consciousness of negative self-talk is the first step in the process of eliminating it. In the event that you find yourself thinking something critical, ask yourself if you would say it to someone you care about. How would I explain it to my closest friend? Then why am I telling myself that if it is not true? Contain the narrative in question. Substitute the truth for you. I offer value to the table, even though I move more slowly now. Because I have survived challenging situations in the past, I still have things to learn, things to contribute, and things to enjoy. In addition, if you are surrounded by people who promote those negative attitudes, you should carefully assess whether or not those voices should continue to be a part of your life. In the same way that safeguarding your body is vital, protecting your mind is also important. This could involve spending less time with people who undermine your self-assurance or putting more of your energy into those who recognize your capabilities and speak positively about your potential. Because you have spent years developing into the person you are today. Every wrinkle, scar, and tail that you have acquired along the road has significance. That ought to be reflected in your internal discourse. It ought to be a celebration of the fortitude, knowledge, and resiliency that result from living a life that is not perfect but rather one that is true. In the future, when you hear that voice telling you that you are too old, too slow, or too late, you should respond by talking back. Bring to its attention the fact that you are still present, that you are still developing and becoming, and that the best version of yourself is not yet behind you. One decision at a time. It is still the process of unfolding. A clutter that binds you to the past is the fourth item on the list. There is absolutely nothing wrong with retaining a few things that are of great value. The book that your spouse enjoys reading the most. A sweater that still has a scent that is instantly recognizable. Or an image that conveys more than words ever could. These things are not clutter, rather, they are things that store memories. However, over the course of time, it is simple to cross a line without being aware of it. Numerous garments that have not been worn in 20 years are stuffed inside closets. In the cabinets, there are festive dishes that have never been used. Whether it be old equipment, furniture, or hobbies that you left up decades ago, the basement gradually transforms into a museum. And all of a sudden, you are not only saving your history, but you are also ensnared in it. It is possible that you will not even notice the weight at first. It's nothing more than a collection of items that are hidden away. But not only does it take up space in your home, but it also takes up space in your head. Free movement, clear thinking, and easy breathing are all made more difficult as a result of this. Not only does every drawer you open and every shelf you dust become a memory of what was, but it also serves as a reminder of all the decisions you put off until later. What should I do with this? What happens if I find myself in need of it? What happens if another person in the future wants it? The answers to these questions quickly turn into emotional quicksand that pulls you back again and again. Contemplate Leonard, who, at the age of 80, stored all of the tools he had ever had in a shed located back the home. While others had not been touched since the 1990s, some of them had rusted down. The memories of his working days, the garage he had created with his brother, and the pride he felt in repairing things on his own were brought back to him by they. He felt as though he was letting go of his identity as he let go. Up to the point where his grandson made a request to assist in cleaning up the shed. Collectively, they went through each and every drawer. Leonard had a few favorite tools that he passed on to his children. Told stories, and then let the rest go. The only thing that left was not only a cleaning of the area, but also a sense of tranquility and a fresh kind of connection. It is not necessary to erase your past in order to get rid of the physical clutter you have. Rather than clinging to it out of habit, fear, or obligation, it means curating it and selecting what truly reflects who you are and what you want to be. When you empty that space, you will notice that something else appears, such as energy, focus, and even joy, mainly due to the fact that you are no longer struggling to be heard above the din of the past in order to find your way forward. Take baby steps. Consider whether you make use of this. Oh, do I adore this? Can I use this information today? In the event that the response is negative, you are not just discarding it, rather, you are releasing it. Not only are you making room for the life you have now, but you are also making room for the life you used to live. You should also not be scared to ask for assistance. Through the process of sorting through old possessions with a friend or loved one, you may frequently discover something that is more significant than you had anticipated. In this moment, the stress of carrying everything by oneself is lifted, and it becomes an opportunity for sharing, remembering, and honoring. Make sure that your area reflects not only your past but also your current. Because every time you open your eyes, you have the opportunity to live your life with more freedom, more intention, and with less burden. And it all begins with the things that you decide to keep and the things that you ultimately decide to let go of. I would appreciate it if you could use the fourth comment section below to let me know that you are continuing viewing this video and that you are finding these insights to be helpful. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the channel and activate the bell if you have not already done so. This will ensure that you do not miss any videos. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. Let's proceed with our plans now. The assumption that new friendships are impossible to form is the fifth type of behavior. Many people, at some point in their lives, come to the realization that friendship is something that can only flourish during the formative years of adolescence. That after one reaches a particular age, it becomes increasingly difficult to form new relationships. It's possible that the individuals you used to know have moved away, passed away, or just become out of reach. All of your routines have been altered. Your circles have receded in size. As time goes on, the voice that you hear in your head starts to tell you that it is already too late. However, one of the most detrimental things to take with you after the age of 70 is the assumption that new friendships are impossible to form. Additionally, it is time to dispose of it. To tell you the truth, loneliness is not a normal component of the aging process. As a signal, it is. You are receiving a message from your spirit that connection is still important. Despite the fact that your career has ended, your heart has not stopped working. That your urge to laugh, to tell stories, to be seen and heard is something that has not diminished with the passage of time. It is still on the go. Furthermore, it is still possible to encounter a new person who makes you feel as though you are understood. It's possible that it won't appear the same as it did when you were in your 20s. There is a good chance that you will not form a connection over dorm rooms or dance halls. Nevertheless, you might connect over gardening, reading, or even bereavement. It's possible that the individual who sits next to you at the community center or the neighbor who you've simply waved at up until this point offers you the opportunity to make a friend. Whether it be through a class you attend, a group you join, or a cause that you are passionate about, you can end up meeting someone. It could take some time as well. However, the beginning of every friendship that has ever been significant began with a single thing: a brief moment of transparency. Take, for example, Paul, who, after the death of his wife, relocated to a new location. He had no acquaintances at all. Over the course of several weeks, he hardly ever ventured out of the house, with the exception of going to the grocery store. After that, he decided to enroll in a watercolor class that was held at the library on a weekly basis. It wasn't because he had a passion for painting, rather, it was because he needed to be around people once more. A woman named Judith, who had also lost her spouse, was there when he met her. Over time, they started exchanging rides, followed by coffee, and then portions of their stories. The pain of being alone began to lessen gradually as time went on also. When you put yourself out there once more, it is not always an easy task. Age can make vulnerability feel more difficult, rather than easier. Additional memories, losses, and feelings of self-doubt are carried by you. Nevertheless, you know that you have more patience, more insight, and more to contribute than you give yourself credit for. You are the one who has stories that someone else is eager to hear. You are a compassionate person who is needed by another person. Your presence, humor, and insight have the potential to improve the life of another person simply by virtue of the fact that you are present. Do not let the past to persuade you that connection is no longer a part of your life. Despite the fact that you may have been hurt or disappointed, you should not allow fear to prevent you from reaching out to this person. There are people in the world who will come to you in the same location that you are in. We do not require any performance. Pretending is not required at all. Nothing but your genuine, sincere self. The idea that friendship is something you develop over time is something you should abandon. Mostly due to the fact that it is something that you develop over time. Deeper, slower, and more lavish with each passing year that you live. And often the relationships that are the most significant are the ones that you never anticipated. The ones that were formed at a moment when you believed that your heart had already learned everything it could. Sixth, ambitions that have been abandoned and are no longer beneficial to your life. There is a kind of pressure that many individuals carry into their older years that is not immediately obvious. A compilation of objectives that they never accomplished, aspirations that they never realized, and anticipations that they never lived up to. That strain can continue to be felt even at the age of 70 or 80. It seems as though I was destined to be the one to write that book. My mistake was that I did not return to school. That company was never actually started by me. The thoughts that you have are occupying space in the recesses of your mind, much like mail that has not been opened. However, here is the reality. Not all of the objectives were intended to be long-term, for a limited time. Some were merely intended to serve as a guide. And after you reach the age of 70, one of the most liberating things you can do is get go of the things that are no longer relevant to your life. This has nothing to do with giving up. It is about letting go of the burden of expectations that have become obsolete. Particularly those expectations that were never genuinely considered to be yours to begin with. You have been given certain objectives by other people. What you were going through at the time had an impact on some of them. Moreover, some of them were based on who you were in the past rather than who you have become. If you cling to them with an excessive amount of passion, you could get the impression that you are falling short, even when you are precisely where you should be. Consider the case of Ruth, who, at the age of 79, mistakenly believed that in order to feel successful, she needed to travel the world. Since she was a child, she had always promised herself that she would do it after she retired. However, life had other things in store for us. Her health underwent a transformation. Her financial situation shifted. Moreover, she felt like a failure for a number of years because she did not purchase that ticket. However, it wasn't until she was sitting on her front porch with a friend and a cup of tea that she came to the realization that what she truly desired was not a passport and stamps. Stories, beauty, and connection were all present, and that was already in her possession just where she was. When you let rid of ambitions that have passed their expiration date, you are not settling. What's at stake is realignment. Asking yourself, what is the most important thing to me right now? At this point in my life, what provides me with happiness? Exactly what kind of a legacy do I hope to leave behind? Not in the distant future, but right today. It is possible that you may find out that your true objectives have changed when you pose those questions in an honest manner. Maybe your objective right now is to take your time and enjoy the morning. To act as a guide on someone younger. To compose a letter to each of your grandchildren and send it to us. To offer one's services, so as to acquire a new skill. You could also just want to be in the company of the people who adore you. None of this indicates that your previous aspirations were without significance. You were used by them. That was a reach for you. However, if they are no longer suitable for the way you live your life, it is acceptable to let them go, in order to respect what they taught you and to make room for new goals and objectives. Ones that are current and reflect your requirements. Currently, your strongest points, the joy you are experiencing right now. This is not the same person you were when you were 40 or 60 years old. Additionally, that is a wonderful thing. To grow is to undergo change. Alteration necessitates a recompense. Furthermore, reappraisal represents the authorization to move your focus, rethink what your future holds, and let go of anything that is no longer contributing to your sense of calm. I would appreciate it if you could use the 6th comment section below to let me know that you are continuing viewing this video and that you are finding these insights to be helpful. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the channel and activate the bell if you have not already done so. This will ensure that you do not miss any videos. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. Let's proceed with our plans now. The fear of death is the 7th type of terror. It's possible that this is the heaviest of all the things that elderly people carry with them into their 70s and beyond. Neither because it is loud nor because it is obvious, but rather because it is frequently concealed, tucked away beneath jokes, deflections, or unbearable silence. Many of us experience the fear of death, yet only a small percentage of us are willing to talk about it publicly. And yet, it molds a significant portion of the way we live. Because of this, we experience anxiety regarding our health, reluctance to make plans for the future, and uncertainty regarding how to communicate what it is that we want, need, or hope for when one reaches the age of 70. However, one of the most profound acts of emotional freedom is to let go of the fear of death. This is not to say that one should deny death, rather, it is to make peace with death. Despite this, there will be instances when you experience feelings of fear. That is true. To be human means to have that quality. Fear, on the other hand, does not have to be the driving force behind your existence. And it certainly does not have to be the defining characteristic of your final years. What you might find is that once you stop avoiding the subject, It begins to lose its influence over you. This is something that you might notice. Discussing death, contemplating the things that are most important to you, and making preparations for how you would wish to be remembered are not activities that can bring to feelings of hopelessness. They bring about clarity. They are a source of tranquility. James, who is 83 years old, has avoided creating a will for a number of years. Even just thinking about it caused his chest to tense up. On the other hand, his daughter brought it up in a kind manner after a health scare. Collectively, they took a seat. All of his desires were made public. He was quite selective in his word choice. In addition, he experienced an unanticipated sense of relaxation later. He stated that I had anticipated that it would make me feel more close to death. But in reality, it seemed to make me feel more alive. With all of that anxiety hanging over my head, I finally felt like I was ready to take advantage of my time. It is not the same thing as assuming that we are invincible in order to eliminate our fear of death. Recognizing that life has always been uncertain and will continue to be so in the future is essential. With that being said, we still have the ability to choose how we want to conduct our lives. Each of us has the ability to make the decision to be present, to make the most of each day, to freely express love, to give abundantly, and to laugh without any reservations. We are able to have conversations with our family about our beliefs, our recollections, and even our aspirations for the days that will follow our passing. That death is not the antithesis of life is something that we are able to keep in mind. Simply said, it is the life mate. Each one imparts significance to the other. It is not necessary for you to be fearless. All that is required of you is the willingness to confront the reality in an honest manner, to prepare with bravery, and to live your life with intention. There is a tremendous transition that takes place when we let go of our dread of dying. We no longer keep an eye on the time. We let go of our attachment to things that we are unable to manage. As a result, we begin to view every single moment, every single relationship, every single sunrise, and every single cup of tea as a gift. Therefore, take a deep breath, take a look around you, and allow yourself to live. This is not to say that you should live in spite of death, rather, you should live with the full realization that your time is valuable, your presence is influential, and your life is currently unfolding right now. Lastly, some thoughts. I would appreciate it if you could take a time to think about these 7 things as we come to the end of this video, in a manner that is not characterized by guilt or pressure, but rather by curiosity and compassion. Can you tell me which of these you are still carrying? Which ones are you finally prepared to put down on the table? When you are 70 years old, throwing anything away is not about loss. It has to do with space. There is room for happiness. There is room for tranquility. There is room for what is still important. Whether it's guilt that has kept you saying yes when you didn't want to, baggage that links you to a past that you've already lived, or concerns that whisper that you're too old to start over. There are many things that might keep you from saying no. Every one of these can be made available. With each release, you will experience a slight increase in lightness, a slight increase in breathing room, and a slight increase in the freedom to live your life as it is right now. This freedom is not something you have achieved by being perfect or by checking off every box. Rather, it is something you have gained by living through decades of love, change, suffering, and growth. Simply the fact that you have arrived at this point is sufficient. Therefore, as you move forward, I encourage you to do so not with a burden at your shoulders, but rather with a lighter heart. Give up things that are no longer beneficial to you. What provides you peace should be reclaimed. In addition, keep in mind that it is never too late to experience freedom in your own life. We appreciate you being here with us today. It would be wonderful if you could get in touch with us. Please leave a comment below and tell us about one item you discovered today and how you intend to put it to use in your life right now. We place a high value on your opinions, so please do not be reluctant to share them with us. Our inspiration and encouragement are greatly increased as a result of reading your remarks. I would appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, and share this video if you found it to be informative and enjoyable. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. We appreciate you taking the time to watch, and we hope to see you in the future video.